What's going on, guys? You're here to Draw Spud. I'm Spud Reed, and in this video I'm going to be showing you all tips and tricks for starting from a sketch and going to a masterpiece. I'm going to give you tips on sketching, tips on shading, and overall tips to boost your drawing skills. This video is a part 2. The last video was a time lapse of me going from a sketch to a finished piece, and this video I'm going to deconstruct the time lapse video and talk about the different parts and how I moved along making this piece. So starting off with a drawing, you always want to do sketching. In this video I'm using a Procreate app, so I can go back, I can use the back and forward arrows to take away sketches. But overall I want it to be nice and loose, no real hard lines. And I just want to get the basic form down. Now if you're drawing a person or animal or face, those are kind of harder to draw than just normal everyday objects. So those can be a little harder. But if you're drawing a normal everyday object, like a soda can, a muffin, food, maybe even a machine, those things can be broken down into different stages for sketching and drawing. So I'm going to show you all that today. Also, if you want, you can follow along with my tips and make your own sketch as we're going along and I'm giving you the tips. If not, and you just want to sit back and listen, you can do that too. Feel free to do whatever you want. Let's get right into the video. So in the video you can't see, but I actually have a reference photo of a blueberry muffin. And that's going to help me with my sketching and overall composition of the piece. So what you want to do first is you want to get an outline for the drawing. You'll split it up into different pieces, different sections, depending on what your thing is. So for me, I drew a muffin, and there's mainly two parts. There's the top part, which has like the actual muffin, and then there's the base. So I drew the base, and I drew the muffin part, and made them proportionally correct based on the photo. Then what I went in and did is I drew sketch lines to where indentations or dark parts or light parts would be in the piece. You can see I use hatching and cross hatching to signify lighter or dark areas that I'm later going to shade with color. I decided to do black and white now because it makes it easier for me to see the different types of shading. And also parts that are really dark, like the blueberries, I might just do a solid black, and that will indicate that those are really dark parts. So once I have my sketch done, I'm going to go in with the colors that I know are going to be for the baseline. So for the muffin top, I know that yellow or bright yellow is going to be a pretty normal color to see on the muffin. This is also probably the highlight of the muffin, but I'm going to use this light color as the base for the muffin so that when I add the darker colors, I can compare them to the lighter colors and see where I might want to add more lighting, add more light colors or more dark colors. Starting off with the light is a lot easier than starting with the dark, because if you start with the dark, you've already set a restriction on yourself on how dark you can go for the actual drawing. Whereas if you start with light colors, you can always progressively get darker. If you do a drawing digitally, like I mentioned doing on Procreate, in the end you can always go back and change the saturation and brightness to however you want it. That's why I like doing drawings in Procreate, because you can change the form, you can change the brightness, you can change the color, all at the end once you've finished. Whereas if you draw on a normal piece of paper, then you can't do that. Also, on Procreate or on any digital app, you can go back in time, so in case you mess up with after the sketching phase, you can still go back and fix your mistakes. So I'm going to lay down this light color, this light yellow, wherever I think there might be some highlights or some really light parts of the muffin. And I do the top and the bottom. Now I know the bottom is obviously going to be darker, so I'm going to go over and add a film of a darker color on top to make it darker, but I still want to have it be the same color, I guess. Maybe not as bright, but the same color. So here you can see that I'm adding a color that's a little bit darker than the first color, but still pretty light. And with this, you can tell which parts of the muffin are bright, but also it gives you a distinct area where you know what the highlights of the muffin are, so where like the ridges would be. And as you can see, when I first did my sketch, which is on the left, when I did the squiggles and ridges on my actual drawing, you can see that I added the lightest color right on the top of the ridges, because that signifies that the light is hitting the top of the bumps and the ridges on the muffin. They didn't really think of the light yellow color, they think more of like the orangish. And this is going to be the main color. Here I go in with a darker orange. This can be maybe one of the main colors of the muffin. Maybe this is like the color that everyone thinks of when they think of the muffin. They don't think of like the light yellow. And as you can see, I've transitioned from the orange to a brownish color for the base, because I know that's going to be more in the shadows and it's going to have less saturation, so I want to change it to a brownish color instead of a bright orange. And I colored the berries light pink or light purple in the beginning, and as you can see, I've added a bunch of dark blue on top, obviously because you want to do the light color first and then the dark color. And you can see in some spots where I left the light purple, that would be the highlight of the berries. And so in this stage, when you're adding the color, feel free to experiment with different colors. You can always, obviously if you're doing digital, you can always go back. And experimenting with different colors can be good, because when you look at a piece, you might only see, oh, well, this muffin is yellow and brown and orangish. But if you look closely, you'll see hints of blue, hints of red even, in the actual picture, in the actual photo, because there's so many different light combinations and value combinations in the actual piece, in the actual on the actual muffin, that it's hard to see all those sometimes when you're doing your drawing. So experimenting with many different types of colors can make your piece pop and look more professional. And as you can see on the bottom of the muffin, near the base, I've added some bumps that originally on my sketch weren't there. And that's something I didn't really want to include on the sketch because I didn't think I needed to. But I made that change afterwards because it's a kind of subtle change, but I can obviously see from the reference photo that that is something that I'm going to need in my base. And obviously towards like the bottom of the muffin, or where there's more shading, you want to make the colors of whatever object you're drawing darker, as well as, like for the muffin, I have a darkish orange, and then I make the color even darker to show the shading. Same with the bottom part of the muffin. It's a yellowish color, and then I change it to a brown, which is like the bottom. But then for the shading, I want to go in with an even darker brown to signify that this part is extremely dark, that this part is dark because of the shading. And so at this point, I'm pretty much done with the outline of the drawing. I think the colors are good. What I want to do now is I want to use the bulge and liquefy effect on Procreate to change the muffin to the way I want it to be, because I think it looks really good right now, but I don't think the top of the cone is popping. I don't think the top of the muffin is popping or standing out as much as I want it to be. I also think the base of the muffin is pretty large, so I'm going to use this feature to make it I'm going to use this feature to make the muffin larger, and also I'm going to make it a little bit more red, because I feel like this yellow color is a little too sunshiny. I think it needs to be more darker. And then what I do is on Procreate, you can make different layers, so I make a new layer and I experiment with different toppings that could be like the cinnamon, the sugar that go on top of the muffin. I also do a little bit of a wash of an opaque layer of white to make the top of the muffin like a highlight, I guess. I do it at the bottom too with a darker brown to make it darker. And then here you can see that I sliced off the sides of the base of the muffin, so instead of being round, it's more of like a cone. It's cut, so it's like it's more sharp. It's more it seems more realistic this way instead of having it be round. And I'm about done here, but I want to go back and add a little bit more shading. Shading is one of those things you can always add more, and for the most part, your drawing will only get better. Obviously, if you're bad at shading or if you don't know how to shade correctly, check out one of my videos. I have a video on that. But shading is always something that makes your drawings pop, or your paintings or whatever you're making. It makes it pop. So I added some shading between the orange of the top of the muffin and also with the base, so they complement each other, contrasting, making it seem more real. Also, adding some highlights isn't too bad either, though be careful because too many highlights can overwhelm the viewer. And that's basically it for this video. That's my process on those are my tips and my process on how I go from a sketch to a final drawing. If you find this helpful, please subscribe, like, leave a comment down below on what you think I should draw next. If you enjoyed this tutorial and you want me to do a specific tutorial on how to do drawings with pen, do drawings with pencil, paint, though I'm not the best painter, leave those ideas in the comments below and I'll check them out. And this video might have gone pretty quickly, and so I know this video might have gone by pretty quickly, so if you want to rewind and go back to some parts you think you might need more help with, like with shading or with figuring out proportions at the beginning sketching stages, you can go ahead and do that. And I hope you can find this helpful. If you want to check out the full time-lapse video, go check out part 1 of From a Sketch to a Masterpiece. It's just a time-lapse video of me doing the whole thing. That's another benefit of using Procreate, the Procreate app. It can be on, you can find it on computers, you can find it on iPads, phones, tablets, whatever. But they have a feature after you finish your drawing where you can do a time-lapse replay of your whole process, which I think is really cool. So that's what my first video is of, and that's basically it for this video. Those are my tips and tricks on how to go from a sketch to a masterpiece. Hope you all enjoy your day. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.